Okay, Algebra 2, Unit 13 group quiz. Number 1, factor completely. Anytime you don't have an equal sign, all you're doing is factoring. You're not setting it equal to 0. So our answer is going to have the parentheses. How will I factor this problem? Very good. So let z equal 7x minus 4. So this goes away and we put a z there. We end up with z squared minus 36. How can that factor? Thank you. Z minus 6 and z plus 6. Can that factor any further? No. At this point, we take 7x minus 4 and plug it back in for z into my factor part. So we end up with 7x minus 4 minus 6 and 7x minus 4 plus 6. And then if you combine like terms, you do. And negative 4 and negative 6 make. And negative 4 and positive 6 make. And there's your answer. Okay, number 2. Same thing. Let z, though, this time equal 3x minus 2. So this becomes a z and that becomes a z. Our equation now is z squared plus 4z minus 12. What multiplies to be negative 12 and adds to be 4?
6 and 2.
Thank you. Z plus 6 and z minus 2. Can I factor any further? No. So we're going to take 3x minus 2 and plug it in for our z's. We have 3x minus 2 plus 6, 3x minus 2 minus 2. Combine our like terms, and I get 3x plus 4 and 3x minus 4. If you look here, it says choose, one of the factors will be. So on your test, a lot of it is multiple choice. What's going to happen is they're going to have all these different options. One of the options will be, let's say, 3x plus 4. You're going to just choose one of them. Both of these answers will not be there. Only one of them will. But they're going to mess you up because they'll probably do it where you wouldn't substitute back in. So like one of the answers might be x plus 6. And then if you forget to plug back in your z value, you might mess up. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Okay. Are you guys paying attention over here? Because it doesn't feel like this section is. Okay. All right. This should have been a minus 6 here. What do we always do first when you are factoring? Okay. Is there GCF?
Yes.
Yes. 2. And we get x squared minus 2x minus 3. Is there anything that multiplies to be negative 3 and adds to be negative 2? Good. So these multiply to be negative 3, add to be negative 2. Can I factor those any further? Nope. There's your answer. Okay. Number 4. What do I do? Good. What is my LCD on this problem? Very good. So I go to every term and write x squared. Okay, so what happens with the x squared and the 4?
4x squared.
Thank you. Minus x squareds cancel. We have 1. In the denominator, I get
2x squared
minus x, because one of the x's cancel. Okay, what happens to the top?
The difference squares.
Thank you. Very good. 2x minus 1, 2x plus 1. What happens in the denominator?
You can take out the x.
And we get?
2x minus 2.
Okay. These cancel, and there's your answer. 2x plus 1 over x. Questions? Okay, example 5. What am I going to do?
LCD.
What is my LCD on this problem?
X squared.
Good. So I'm going to write x squared next to every single term. Okay, on the first term, what happens?
The x cancel.
Next one, an x cancels with here, and we get 5x plus,
4x squared.
thank you, over x squared minus
1.
1. Since there are no negatives here, I would go ahead and rewrite this to be 4x squared plus 5x plus 1. How will I factor this? Good, so we're going over by 4. We get x squared plus 4x plus 4. What does that factor to be? X plus 4, x plus 1, those multiply to be 4, add to be 5. Anytime you go over, you also need to go. So that reduces, we get x plus 1. Here it does not reduce, so we bring our bottoms up and we get 4x plus 1. So my top is x plus 1 and 4x plus 1. The denominator factors to be what?
X plus 1, x minus 1.
Good. X plus 1, x minus 1. Our x plus 1s cancel, and then we have our answer. Yes?
Can you do diamond method by the first equation? The blue one?
This one?
Yeah.
You can do like guess and check, but if you don't end up getting 4x plus 1 and x plus 1, then you did it wrong.
Yeah, but like you do diamond method with the first number and this last number, right? I don't know, I did diamond method like that.
Did you get the right answer?
Yeah.
Then good. That works. All right, any other questions? Okay. Okay, so some students have been confused on this one. Remember that if you have like a minus or a plus, that I can't take this and move it to the bottom down here. I just have to, it's like a separate problem. So on the top, in order to make x to the negative 1, the negative exponent go away, I have to write that as 1 over x, and I still have minus 2. If there was no minuses and pluses and you just had negative exponents, you can shift them up and down. But because of the minuses and pluses, you have to keep them as like separate problems. Are we okay with that? Okay, so then on the bottom I still have x minus 2. So what am I going to do at this point now? Good. So my LCD is x. So we go x to every term. And on this one, I'm noticing though none of the x's are going to cancel out, right? Do you guys see that? So instead of multiplying everything by x, I'm just going to have x in front and put my parentheses around it. Because then I'm just going to end up having to factor it back out afterwards anyways. So you only want it next to everything like that if it'll cancel out. Otherwise, you can just leave it as it being the GCF. Okay? So here the x's cancel, and we get 1 minus 2x. The denominator, I have x and x minus 2. Can anything cancel? No. That's my answer. Or, on your test, they could multiply out the denominator and have it as x squared minus 2x. Either of those answers would be correct. Normally factored form is correct, but we even noticed on some of our homework assignments that they didn't have it in the factored form. Remember that? Okay, so either way is good. Questions on 6? All right, number 7. How will I write this? 1 over a to the 8th minus 1 over, good, over 1 over plus 1 over, very good. Okay, so what would be my LCD on this problem? Good, a to the 8th and b to the 8th. So on this one, I'm going to write it next to every term because we have fractions on both the top and the bottom. Okay, first term, what happens?
A into 8 comes out.
And so we're just left with
B to the 8.
b to the 8th. Then our b to the 8ths cancel out, and we're just left with
A to the 8.
over. In the denominator, 4 of the a's cancel, and so I'm left with,
A to the 4th, B to the 8th.
and then 4 of the b's cancel out.
A to the 8th, B to the 4th.
Okay, the top. This is a minus sign, which means, is it a difference of squares? And so when I factor those, what does it end up becoming? Good. Oops. Okay, so basically you're like splitting apart. Okay, you know how when we have like a squared, we get an a and an a in front of each of the x in front of each of the parentheses. So we're just splitting apart our 8. So we get 4 and 4 and 4 and 4, 1 minus 1 plus. Over, what can I do in the denominator?
Take on A to the fourth and take on B.
Good, a to the 4th and b to the 4th, I'm factoring out. When you're dividing this by a to the 4th, b to the 4th, those a's cancel out and we're left with b to the 4th. Plus, when I divide by a to the 4th, b to the 4th, the b to the 4th cancel and I'm just left with a to the 4th. And if you notice, these cancel. Now, I could factor this further, couldn't I? But is it going to help me cancel anything out? No, so you don't have to. But if the answer wasn't there, could you factor it further and then see if the answer was there? Yes. All right, what do you notice about number 8?
Equals.
Equals to 0, so that means once we factor, we...
It also says solve.
And it does say solve. Very good observation. All right, so what am I going to do? Very good. Over by 9, we get n squared minus 13n plus 36 equals 0. What multiplies to be 36 and adds to be negative 13? Very good. Negative 9 and negative 4. Now what do I do? Very good. Under by 9. How do I know I'm going under by 9? Very good. Whichever number you go over by. These reduce, and I get n minus 1, and this doesn't reduce, so we bring our bottoms up, and we get 9n minus 4. Now what? Very good. You got to solve, because that's what it says. So when we solve those, what do I get? Perfect. Any questions? Okay, number 9. Very good. We're going to solve. How do I do it?
Find LCD.
Good. LCD is 2x. Okay, so we write that next every term. Can I cancel anything here? No. So what is it going to be?
2x squared.
Very nice. Minus. 2's cancel and we're left with?
Minus 3.
Equals. X's cancel and we have?
14.
Okay, what can I do now?
Subtract 14.
Good job. Subtracting 14 is correct. 2x squared minus 3x minus 14 equals 0. Good job. Okay, x squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. What multiplies to be negative 28 and adds to be negative 3?
7 and 4.
Negative 7 and a positive 4. Since I went over, I'm going to go under. Okay, we end up getting 2x minus 7 and x plus 2.
Sorry about that. There were 2 other classes who came in right when I came in, so I'll wait.
Okay, now what? What does x equal? 7 over 2 and negative 2 when we set those equal to 0. Do you guys need to see me actually work that out?
No.
Okay, good. All right. 10. Good. What is my LCD?
X times x2.
Very good. Remember that anything that is a plus or minus is stuck together like glue. I can't cancel out an x and the x plus 2. Okay, so x times x plus 2. That rhymed. What? Thank you. I know.
Oh, what?
All right, so what happens on number 10? I mean, on the first term, on number 10.
Cancel the x's.
X's. 1 times x plus 2 is?
X plus 2.
Okay, next term, x plus 2's cancel, and we're left with x times x, which is
Squared.
very good. Equals, nothing cancels, and we distribute, and we get.
Squared plus 2x.
Okay, what happens when you have the same thing on both sides?
They cancel out.
They cancel out, because if I were to subtract x squared to both sides, look, they cancel out. Okay, so now I have x plus 2 equals 2x, and what will we do to solve? Subtract x to both sides, and I have 2 equals x. Okay, in triangle DEF, what is the value of the sine of D? Remember, we have SOHCAHTOA. Sine is what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
Very good. Opposite over hypotenuse. So, we go to D. Here is D. What is opposite of D? 3. What is the hypotenuse? And you're done. Questions? All right. Okay, lots of talking all of a sudden. If we can decrease the talking. Okay. All right. SOHCAHTOA again. So it says in triangle XYZ, what's the value of the tan of x? Well, tan of x, what does tangent represent?
Opposite over adjacent.
So if we go over to our triangle, here is x. What is opposite of x? We have no idea. How am I going to find it?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Very good. 6 squared plus, we're just going to give this x squared, equals 11 squared. 6 squared is
36.
plus x squared equals,
121.
then I subtract 36. X squared equals 85. And in order to get what x equals, so x equals root 85. So down here, this is going to end up being,
85.
so what is opposite of x?
85.
And then what is adjacent?
6.
And can that be reduced?
No.
No is correct. Okay, 13. Solve for y. We have a 45, 45, 90, because if that's 45, that's 45. On the board, I have the triangles written on both sides. I will leave them there for your test tomorrow. Okay, so I like to label them. This is A, this is A, this is A root 2. Wherever you have a number, this is now your equation. So we write that as A root 2 equals root 10. What do I do to get A by itself? If you have 2 roots, you can reduce. Can that reduce? So what does A equal? Root 5, because 2 goes into 10 5 times. And look, we are looking for this side. This side is root 5. This side's root 5 as well. So that means my answer is root 5. Okay, we have another 45, 45, 90. Again, I usually always will write this out. So we have A, and A root 2. That's where my number is. A equals 5. The side they want me to find, and don't worry about those variables, the side they want me to find is the A root 2 side. So since I know that A is 5, I'm just taking that 5 and plugging it in for A. Therefore, this side is 5 root 2. Okay, so this one is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. What is across from the 30? The 30 is my A. The 60 is my A root 3, and the 90 is, this is where I have my number, right? So I'm going to write 2A equals 16. Then what do I do? Divide by 2. A equals 8. Now they want me to find this side over here, right? So I'm taking my A equals 8 and I'm plugging it into A. So what is my answer going to be? Are we good? Okay, what's across from my 30?
A.
A. Across from my 60?
A root 3.
And my 90 is?
2A.
These are the numbers that I have. So that means that A equals 2 root 3. They want me to find this side. So that means I am taking 2 root 3 and I'm plugging it in for A. So we have 2 root 3 times root 3. What happens when you have 2 roots?
Cancel out.
So that means I get 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, 45, 45, 90. Across from my 45s are my
A's.
A's, and then it's A root 2 for my 90. So we know that A equals 2. So look, this side is also just 2. Okay, again we have a 45, 45, 90. Okay, across from each of my 45s is what? A, right? And then across from my 90 is what? A root 2. So this is my only one with a value, and so that's my equation. A root 2 equals 8. What do I do to get A by itself? Okay, is that an acceptable answer? No. What do I need to do? Okay, so we get a pair of 2, so now I have 8 root 2 over 2. And what should I do? Reduce, and 8 divided by 2 is, so we get 4 root 2. So that means each of these sides are 4 root 2. So that means my answer for y is 4 root 2. Questions? Okay. Okay, I'm going to draw a 30, 60, 90 triangle, just like I have on the board. Across from my 30 is A. Across from 60 is A root 3. And across from 90 is 2A. It says, find the cosine of 30. Okay? Well, again, we have our SOHCAHTOA. So, cosine of 30. What is cosine?
Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, what is adjacent to 30? A root 3. Okay, adjacent to 30 is A root 3. What is the hypotenuse?
2A.
Okay, what do you notice?
You can contact.
The A's cancel out, and you're left with root 3 over 2. So the cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. Do you have any walk through that one more time?
No.
You're good?
We got it.
Okay. All right, 45, 45, 90 triangles. So I'm going to draw my 45, 45 triangle. Across from my 45s are A, and across from my 90 is A root 2. Now it says the sine of 45. Sine is what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
Okay. So, if we go, it doesn't matter which 45 you go to. If I go to a 45, what is the opposite? A over, and the hypotenuse is A root 2. So what happens?
The A's
A's cancel out. So I have 1 over root 2. Is that good?
No.
What do I do?
Multiply by root 2.
So we end up with root 2 over 2 as my answer. Okay, 21, sine of 30. Again, sine is what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
Opposite over hypotenuse. I'm not going to draw my triangle again. I go up here, sine of 30. Opposite of 30 is what? A. Over my hypotenuse is?
2a.
What happens? A's cancel and we end up with 1/2. Okay. Next one, cosine of 60. Cosine is what? Okay, so I'm going up here. I'm going to go to now the 60. So, adjacent to 60 is what? A. And then the hypotenuse is what? 2a. And again, the a's cancel out, and my answer is? Okay, tangent of 30. What is tangent? Opposite over adjacent. Okay, I'm going to go back up to my triangle here real quick. So we're going to 30 again. Okay, so here's 30. What's opposite 30? A. And what's adjacent to 30? Okay, so my a's cancel out. We have 1 over root 3. And then what do I do? So we end up with root 3 over 3. Questions? Okay. I'm drawing a triangle. Okay. They want us to find sine of theta. Okay, we're just going to make one of these. It's a Greek symbol, right? Am I wrong? Is it not theta?
I thought it was like a little.
Okay, anyways.
I thought it was a Pokemon. I'm not Greek.
I'm correct. Is it theta? Okay. All right. Anyways, this is called theta. Okay. All right. You could put theta here or here. It's up to you. You could call it 0 with a line through it, but it honestly is theta. I'm not lying to you. Okay. So we want to find sine of theta. Okay. Sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Well, they told us that cosine of theta is 1 over 3. And we know that cosine is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So that means from this angle right here, what's adjacent to it? 1. So we're going to put a 1 right here. And then they're telling us the hypotenuse is 3. So a 3 goes up there. But I need this opposite. I need this. How am I going to find it?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Very good. 1 squared plus x squared equals 3 squared. 1 squared plus x, 1 plus x squared equals 9. We subtract 1. X squared equals 8. And then we square root. And we get x equals what? 2 root 2. So I'm going to go over here and write 2 root 2. So what is opposite of theta? 2 root 2. And what's the hypotenuse? And is that an acceptable answer? Okay. We're going to draw another triangle. We can put theta in the same spot. This time they said the tangent of theta equals 1 over 3. Well, tangent is what? Opposite over adjacent. So opposite this angle is going to be what? 1. And adjacent to this angle is going to be 3. And we don't know this. Okay, if I want to find cosine of theta, cosine is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Do I know what's adjacent to this? Adjacent is 3. Do I know the hypotenuse? How am I going to find it? 1 squared plus 3 squared equals x squared. This answer is going to be different because we're missing a different piece. So we get 1 plus 9 equals x squared. 10 equals x squared, which means that x equals what?
10.
So we have root 10 on the bottom because that is my hypotenuse. And then what do I do?
Divide by root 10.
So we get 3 root 10 over 10.